It's another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Rubbin Minds. Welcome. My name is Abel Buchan. Sorry for this abridged version of the show today. It's, of course, due to the tragedy we just witnessed in Abuja. There's been a military plane crash around the airport in Abuja. We're monitoring developments there, and we're commiserating with all those who are affected by this. But we're going to go straight into the show today, and we're talking insecurity. We saw some of that already in the news today. There's a lot of just reports around the country that's scaring a lot of people and putting people on the edge, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of answers coming to Nigerians. I'm joined now by Kabiru Adamo, who is in our Abuja studios, to help us probably throw some light on where we are as a nation right now, where we're headed. Kabiru, how are you doing, if you can hear me? Okay, we'll get back to Kabiru. If Tanwa Ashiru is there with us, is a defense and intelligence security expert who's also joining us via Skype. Tanwa, how are you doing today?
Good, thanks. Hello, everyone. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thanks a lot for joining us. So let's just quickly get into it because we're really short of time here. A lot is happening. There's too much happening. And for a lot of people, I think the biggest fear is the fact that politicians seem to be saying the wrong things to even make this a little scarier for Nigerians. We did hear a governor, I think, from Bauchi State say something along the lines of headsmen are allowed to carry guns and should be allowed to carry guns, whether it's illegal or not. You know, statements like that are not particularly comforting for Nigerians. What are your thoughts on where we are and where we're headed?
I mean, it's very clear that security or insecurity has increased significantly. Recently, I was actually doing some analysis on security and incidents across Nigeria. And what we found was that over the last 10 years, specifically over the last 5 years, from about 2017, there's been a major significant increase in attacks against civilians, increase in protests across the land, increase in attacks emanating from what we call unidentified gunmen. So really, Nigeria right now is suffering from a case where there are a lot of weapons within the society and a lot of rogue elements that are operating across the land who are attacking civilians. And the worst part is that we are not getting any results from law enforcement or the police. We're not getting the necessary rhetoric, like you said, or comfort even from our politicians themselves. And they've really painted this picture that everyone is for themselves. It's unfortunate, but what we're seeing is a cumulative effect of our poor border security infrastructure, of our poor ability to track citizens, our poor ability to track our forests and secure and protect the forest. And everything is just coming together, crashing down. The other last part of this as well has to do with interethnic conflict. This is something that is as old as Nigeria itself. You've put a bunch of people who speak over 500 different languages, supposedly 250 different ethnic groups, put us all together, and everyone at some point is clamoring for relevance. And if people feel that they're not being heard, their grievances are not being heard, they are going to take justice into their own hands. And unfortunately, that's what we're seeing today.
I hear you very loud and clear there, but I want to go back to Kabiru if he's here with us now. Kabiru, if you can hear me from our Abuja studios. Okay, Kabiru is still not with us. Well, I think a lot of people just want to know what's the way forward. Because there's just, like we said, there's a lot of concerns from Nigerians. Solutions. What's the way out of this? What's the federal government supposed to be doing at this point? Because whether we like it or not, security is in the hands of the executive arm of government. What should we be seeing from government at this point? Conversations, action. I mean, we're still hearing about Boko Haram taking territory. What should we be seeing being done right now?
Okay. Well, first and foremost is that the process of law enforcement, of security, of policing needs to be decentralized. What that means is that we need to take it not even necessarily on that regional level, but it has to be more on a state level. It has to be more on a local government level. Because the truth is, people who are the locals know exactly what's going on. They know who these perpetrators are. We've seen that time and time again in what's going on in Zamfara and even in Niger State. In the case of where the bandits are found, we know where they are physically located. But why is it that the national structure, which is federal, the military, have not been able to actually go in there to get them? So again, what this shows, because at the end of the day, the intervention came on the local level. You had local sheikhs who went and spoke with these bandits and were able to get released. So we need to take that same playbook and really just spread it out across the land.
Yeah.
Policing needs to be decentralized. That,
But
first and foremost, is one of the things that needs to happen.
yeah, but that seems very long term, and a lot of what we are seeing now seems very imminent. You know, like you said, there's a lot of tribal sort of sentiments being stoked. A lot of people are not saying the right things. We've even had Wole Soyinka mention the W word that everybody has been scared to talk about. You know, are there any sort of short-term plans that we should start looking at? I mean, decentralization will need some sort of conversation and agreements, and maybe, I don't know, that seems more like a year or years down the line.
Yeah, so in essence, we used to run the structure where our local traditional leaders, for example, had more of a stronger role in bringing about security across the different communities. So you think it's not as long term as we think. A lot of what we're dealing with right now that seem like it's imminent have actually just been years in the making. And unfortunately, if we don't make that U-turn now, we are going to be hearing more of this conversation and even worse over the next couple of years. So first and foremost, let's start empowering some of these local traditional leaders. As you saw, in fact, your news track showed the meeting that took place in Oyo State, because it's really a dire situation. Or even the situation that happened in Oyo State, you found out that, you know, there's some local leaders or chiefs that are actually in touch with bandits, in touch with kidnappers. So how about we start on that level? Number two is that what we're seeing as well is there are not enough law enforcement personnel to tackle the amount of non-state actors, these rogue actors across the land. So in essence, one of the other things that we need to now start doing is we need to start getting more local vigilantes set up, so to speak. I hate to use that word vigilante because I know the connotation it has around it, but unfortunately, that's something that we can set up already going forward. Tracking data, tracking people that come into the community, the ability for locals to have a emergency phone number they can call, for example. Now, let me tell you why this is particularly important. With the recent kidnap that happened in Niger State, apparently those children said that they got a call around 10 p.m. and someone called one of the students and said, look, bandits or armed robbers are on their way to your school. And he said, they told the boy, go and tell the head boy about this. And he said he told the head boy, and the head boy said, well, you know, it is what it is. And they still did lights out and told everybody to go to sleep. What is the meaning of that? It means, number one, nobody has even been prepared on what to do when such an emergency occurs. So they know who to call, who to reach out to. So these are just some structures that we can start putting in place that we will find over time we'll start building the structures of security.
Okay, I think we're in touch now with Kabiru Adamu in our Abuja studios. Kabiru, we're very short of time and sorry for the technical issues, but I just want to get your thoughts because the 2021 budget seems to prioritize defense, as every budget seems to have done in the last couple of years. We have a president or a presidency that came in saying that security was going to be top of the priority for them, but it doesn't seem to feel that way for a lot of Nigerians. Like we just heard from Tawa, Niger State is in the news. Every day there seems to be a new state in the news for all the wrong reasons. Why are we still here and where should we be heading?
Thank you, Ebuka. You're right. The APC as a party came to power with a three-pronged promise. One of them is to tackle insecurity, and they've actually gone ahead to include security as a priority in almost all the budgets that they have passed in the last 5 to 6 years. They've also attempted, as it were, to review a lot of the policies that they inherited from previous government. So at that level, you would say they've shown seriousness and commitment. What has been lacking is the implementation of those policies and commitments by the government. And associated with that is the inability to bring all the assets that they have together as a government to ensure that they achieve the objective of providing security, which is actually the primary responsibility of any government as provided for in our constitution. Now, we have 27 ministries, departments, and agencies that are involved in security across the various strata of government, from the federal, the state, to the local government. And each time we commit some budgetary allocation to these 27 ministries, departments, and agencies. But unfortunately, what you and I want is to be able to carry out our activities in a manner that we are not affected by any of these security challenges. However, as you rightly indicated, on a daily basis, we have these security challenges. But yet, no one is held accountable. So that's the second point I want to bring in. That absence of accountability where things happen and no one is punished, really. We can reel out incidences, occurrences for the last 6 years plus where we've really not seen anyone being penalized for that. And then the absence of cohesion between these 27 ministries, departments and agencies. You want to make sure that they are working together towards a particular goal, which is the provision of security. But what we are seeing more or less is each one of them operating in a silo, and that coordination that is supposed to be the primary goal of any national security function is completely missing. We can also talk about the lack of what I would call patriotism by some politicians, where they play the ethnic card or sometimes the religious card, and in the process further add to the challenges that we have. In the last few weeks, we've seen some very unguarded statements by some prominent politicians, sometimes governors, or sometimes with certain responsibilities. Now, all of this, unfortunately, adds to the inability of the government to meet that primary objective. In simple terms, I will tell you that there are centrifugal forces that are dividing us and that are affecting security. And instead of the government, the administration, to bring uniting forces, what centripetal forces, they are unable to manage those centrifugal forces, and so where we are at the moment today, unfortunately.
I think you hit the nail on the head there about nobody taking responsibility, and it just seems to be like a constant blame game amongst the politicians. We even heard the Minister of Defense say something along the lines of Nigerians should be more courageous when bandits attack them, and you wonder, who does that leave security in the hands of the average Nigerian? Very quickly, if you can, in one sentence, what should the average Nigerian be thinking or doing now going forward?
So with regards to that statement by the Minister of Defense, I mean, as a security expert who studies counterterrorism, there is a component that says you want to enhance the community resilience. So maybe that was what he was trying to say, but he said it, in that unfortunate manner that he did. Now, what should Nigerians do? Put pressure on their representatives at the state legislature and at the federal legislature, so that they now do what they're supposed to do. A democratic system, you have checks and balances. The legislature is meant to, have that type of checks on the executive arm of government. So this is the time for us to start asking questions of our legislature, so that they can now start also asking questions on the executive. Let's remember that an election would be around the corner very soon. If they are unable to answer those questions, then frankly, we should exercise our franchise and, as it were, tell them that we're not happy with them. But this is the time for us to start putting pressure on the legislature.
Okay, thank you very much, Kabiru. Thank you very much, Tawa, for your contributions. Unfortunately, we have to leave the conversation there. We are hopefully going to get you back here because, we want to talk about better things, but it looks like this seems to be a reality for now, and we'll have more time to talk about this in the future. We'll take a break now and be right back with some entertainment. Please don't go away.
Don't just stand there teasing me. Now